remember is I'm gonna have to get the Droid cam working on here, connect this to the hotspot as well, just so that I can, and then it'll work. Okay. All right, we're on, everyone. Shalom, everyone. I'm Brother Doug with my mom, Sister Sharon. Let me just see here. Okay, continue to app. No. Okay, so what we're going to try here, just bear with me, guys. I'm going to try to get my camera on. If not, oh well, but I'm going to try my best here. Get my camera going. Okay, device IP. Let's see here. Okay. Yeah, seems like I connected this last time. It's got it saved. Okay, perfect. So we're getting it here. Just bear with me, guys, because I'm a little not that organized in our area today. Okay, what I might want to do is try to push this as far as I can. And let's see what would be a good. Yeah, I usually use this as my little kickstand. Mm-hmm. There we go. There we go. Now you can see me. And if you wanted to see my mom, all I would have to do is do that. So there we go. Brother Dennis is with us. All right. So as for usual, guys, we are. Stupid pillow pad I got to.
Oh, I was just leaving.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Was a nice
if you need to leave your elbow, go ahead.
Yeah.
All right. So we're going to be doing our normal Sabbath study. We are going to be reading in 1 Samuel chapters 3 to 5 now. We started one last week. So if you guys, oh geez, don't tell me this thing is already screwing up. Come on, bro. For real. Are we playing games again? Come on. Enough. All right. Sometimes the Droid cam will time out, and sometimes I have to fix that. Anyway, like I was saying, we're going to be doing 1 Samuel 3 to 5. We started 1 to 3 last week. I think we might have done 3 last week, didn't we?
I don't think so.
We didn't, huh?
I think we only did the first 2 chapters.
Oh, we only did 1 to 2.
Because I just read through the 3rd chapter.
All right, sorry, guys. So we did 1 to 3 last week, 1 to 2 last week. We're doing 3 to 5 this week. Sorry about the confusion there. All right, so here we go. So just bear with me, guys. I want to get my mouse too, because it is definitely going to be hard with having the laptop that far from the camera there. I'm going to definitely need some type of mouse here. And I know I saw my mouse somewhere over here. I just gotta look. Ooh. See, this stuff. Yeah, this stuff likes to slide a bit. That's the only issue. Ow, jeez. Hold a second, guys. Hold on a second. Here we go. I know it was somewhere here. All right. I'll just use my, I think I'll use my standard Brenton's Septuagint done by Tom Horn here. It's a very good big print here. So I recommend people that just want to check out the Septuagint just for the first time. You do that. So this what this looks like. Obviously not on the Shabbat, but on your free time during the week, you might want to check that out. And if you want to check out his translation before you get a physical copy, like I said, not on the Sabbath, but during the week, you could possibly take a chance with the Kindle book that he has. I think it's like $4 or $5, the Kindle version of Tom Horn's Brenton Septuagint. Really recommend that. If you guys have not read the Septuagint before, I recommend that before buying a physical copy. Just do that. Obviously, again, for the fourth time, not on the Sabbath, obviously. Okay. So, but anyway, that's what I'm going to be reading from today. So here we go. Let me just get the screen going here. So you guys are going to have the benefit, those watching and listening in from YouTube are going to have the benefit of see here. So you guys are going to have the benefit of seeing three versions at one here. So right here we have all the way to the left, that's the Vulgate Catholic version. Middle is the LXXE Septuagint. And for all of you that are pro-Masoretic there, we have the TS 2009. So I'm going to be comparing all three here. I'm going to be comparing all three at once. So here we go. Chapter 3 of 1 Samuel. Now the boy Samuel was ministering to Yahuwah before Eli or Ali, and the word of Yahuwah was precious in those days. There was no manifest vision or revealed vision. So what you guys got to understand is, like, in those days, in these times where Israel was like really wicked, they could not hear Yahuwah's word directly. They had to go to a prophet. Many of the times the seers were the ones bringing Yahuwah's direct words to them. Now today, as Paul talks about, or not, is it Paul or Peter said, we have a much reliable source. Paul.
Hebrews.
Yeah, so Paul, what I believe Paul in Hebrews was trying to say, not that you'll never have visions anymore, but that we have a much reliable source, the word, written word, to have communion with the Father through the Son. We don't have to go to a seer every time. We don't have to, I think that's what Paul was trying to get at. That's what I believe Paul was trying to get at, in my personal opinion. We have a physical written down word. Even his prophets written down word of what he told his prophets to tell Israel. So we don't need to go to some random seer, and all that. So there is differences in the new covenant. There is subtle differences in the new covenant. So anyway, then it happened. Eli was lying in his place, and his eyes had dimmed so that he was unable to see. And so to prevent the lamp of Alua from going out, Samuel was sleeping in the temple of Yahuwah where the ark of Alua was. It's interesting. I just want to take a note of something. Oh, okay. So I see. They just worded it a little differently. Okay. And Yahuwah called Samuel and said, responding, he said, "Here am I." Verse 5. And he ran to Ali. You okay?
Yeah.
Ran to Ali and he said, "Here I am, for you called me." And he said, "I did not call. Return and sleep." And he went away and he slept. So obviously a lot of us know this story here. Samuel keeps getting woken up by Yahuwah and he thinks it's Eli that's talking to him or calling him. It's actually Yahuwah calling him. So Yahuwah does audibly speak to you. Like, there will be times where you'll hear a loud voice. Sometimes that is the Father. Sometimes that is the Most High, calling you. So again, it's not always going to be a soft little nudge on you. Okay. And again, Yahuwah continued to call Samuel, and rising up, Samuel went to Eli and said, "Here am I, for you called me." And he responded, "I did not call you, my son." Again, he thinks it's Eli. And now Samuel did not yet know Yahuwah, and the word of Yahuwah had not been revealed to him. Now that should be important thing to highlight there. The word, who is the word of Yahuwah? So he did not meet Yahusha yet, basically, is what it's saying. He did not meet the Ben Yahusha yet. He probably heard of Yahuwah. He heard who he was. He knew of him.
But he didn't know him.
He didn't know him. And this is kind of pointing out. Here we go. Finally found a pen here. Jeez. All right. So, oh, great. This is the one that doesn't work.
I have one that you might have been using yesterday.
Here, I got it. I forgot there's this bowl down here. Okay. Take a Sharpie. All right. So, right, when we look at that verse in verse 7 there, I want to write this down because this seems to indicate that Samuel did not know Yahusha yet. So this is 1 Samuel 3:7. Samuel did not know Yahusha. Yeah. Okay, so, and those of you that are saying, well, how do we know that's talking about Yahusha? All you have to do is go to Revelations chapter 19, I believe, and 19. It's 19:13. Okay. It says his name is the word of Yahuwah.
Right. Okay.
So yeah, it's Revelations 19:13 where it talks about the whole angel armies behind him. And then it says he had a name written on his thigh. Mm-hmm. His name was the word of Yahuwah. Okay. So every time you see the word being mentioned as a person, and usually it is mentioned as a person, that's talking about Yahusha. Okay. Mm-hmm. So again, Yahusha existed forever. He always existed in the Old Testament. Yeah, we got wonderful allergies kicking up today. And Yahuwah called Samuel again for the third time, and he arose and went to Heli and said, "Behold, for you did not call me." And Heli perceived that Yahuwah called the child. And he said, "Return, child, go to sleep, and it shall come to pass, if he shall call you, that you shall say, Speak, for your servant hears." And Samuel went and laid down in his place. Okay, verse 10. And Yahuwah came and stood and called him as before, and Samuel said, "Speak, for your servant hears." That's verse 10 there. What is with my chest today? Jeez. Mm-hmm. And Yahuwah said to Samuel, "Behold, I execute my words in Yashar. Whoever hears them, both his ears shall tingle." Interesting. Or the Vulgate would say ring there. Same thing. "In that day, I will raise up against Heli all the things that I have said against his house. I will begin and I will make an end." So basically, Yahuwah is judging Heli, and if you are kind of questioning why he's doing it, that's why I would suggest reading chapter 1 and 2 before coming here, where Yahuwah shows that his sons, who are supposed to be Levite priests, are doing wicked things. They're taking the fat of the animals before the fat burns on the altar. They're eating the fat for themselves. They're doing this, doing that. They're not even being righteous in the priesthood. So, and Yahuwah takes that seriously, because what you got to understand is the Levitical priesthood is a shadow of what's up there in heaven. You start messing up with that, now you're messing up with Yahuwah's actual government that he had in heaven. So that's how he looks at it. When you mess with his Levitical priesthood. "And I have told him that I will be avenged on his house perpetually for the lawlessness of his sons, because his sons spoke against Eluah and did not admonish them, and he did not admonish them. And it shall not go so on so. I have sworn to the house, meaning he's promised, sworn, making an oath, to the house of Ali. The lawlessness of the house of Ali shall not be atoned for, which incense or sacrifice forever. Meaning that no longer will they continually serve him in the priesthood. That's what he's saying. Verse 15, and Samuel slept till morning, and rose early in the morning, and opened the doors of the house of Yahuwah, and Samuel feared to tell the vision. And Hali said to Samuel, Samuel, son, and he said, behold, and he said, what was the word that was spoken to you? I pray you, hide it not from me. May Allah do these things to me, to you, and more so if you hide from me anything of all the words that were spoken to you in your ears. Now, just a comment here, that is a dumb oath to say. That's a stupid thing to say. That's almost as bad as Jephthah, what he did. You're basically saying, let Yahuwah strike me down if you do not reveal to me what he said to you. That is a dumb thing to say. I'm just sorry. I'm going to just call it out as being dumb. I don't know what he was thinking. I really, and this is why Yahusha says in the Brit Hadashah, let your yes be yes and your no be no. Don't be making a stupid oath or swearing something stupid like that. That's why Yahusha says that.
Everything else comes from the evil one.
A lot of people thought Yahusha was saying don't swear at all. That's not what he's saying. He's not saying do not swear an oath, because then he would be contradicting himself. If he is the living word, he's the living Torah. He can't contradict himself. So he's not saying don't ever that oaths are done away with. He never said that. I want to make that clear. And Samuel reported all the words and hid them from him. And Heli said, Yahuwah, he shall do that which is tube in his sight. Now that's important to understand about Yahuwah's sovereignty. Yahuwah does what's right in his sight, not in our sight. We might think something because we have, limited understanding. That's why Yahuwah says my ways are higher than your ways, because we as carnal men don't have the mind of Yahuwah. So verse 19 here, and Samuel grew, and Yahuwah was with him, and there did not fall one of his words to the ground. And Yahshua moved from Dan even to Beersheba, that Samuel trustworthy as a prophet to Yahuwah. So now there seems to be a subtle difference here. The Septuagint is not saying he's a prophet yet. It says that he was trustworthy as a prophet to Yahuwah, where the Masoretic is already kind of jumping the gun. They're jumping the gun. I don't think he was a prophet yet. He was definitely in the office of it, but he's not like a stamp of approval yet by Yahuwah that you're a prophet. So the Masoretic kind of jumps the gun a little bit there. And I'm going to just write that down because that's kind of an important difference, I think.
He has to be anointed.
Yeah, he has to be anointed. And actually, a lot of people get this confused. The anointing of the Brit Hadashah is not the same thing. Like, a lot of people will go to 1 John and say, well, we all have received anointing. No. You're talking about two different covenants here, guys. Definitely. You're talking about two different covenants, number one. The first covenant, Yahuwah would have a priest, a Levite priest, take physical olive oil and physically anoint you, not spiritually. There's a difference. So we also have to look at context too. We can't be jumping the gun and saying, oh, well, everyone's anointed. The Christian church does this all the time. And I hate to say it's the charismatic ones that really do this with the whole, we've all received that anointing and, yada, yada. No, you haven't.
No,
you haven't. You're taking scripture completely out of context. Anyway, but there's a huge difference here. We see in the Septuagint gives an idea that he's serving as a prophet. He's not a prophet yet. And the Masoretic is saying that he already is a prophet. which is problematic since he hasn't been anointed yet. Yahuwah hasn't called him a prophet yet. They're kind of just like jumping the gun. And really, he hasn't even told a vision yet. Yahuwah just told him to tell a word. Like, he just used him as a mouthpiece, like literally as a boy. So it would be a little weird that he's already a prophet that quickly. And Yahuwah revealed himself again in Siloam. I think that's supposed to be in the Hebrew Shiloh. Siloam in Greek is like Shiloh. Okay. For Yahuwah revealed himself to Samuel, and Samuel was accredited to all Yashrael as, keyword, as a prophet to Yahuwah from one end of the land to another. And Heli was very old, and his sons kept advancing, and their way evil before Yahuwah. So the Septuagint gives you a little bit more there. I think the Septuagint is actually the only one in that verse that again says even to Israel he was as a prophet. I don't even think the Masoretic has that. It stops when it says, and the word about Samuel went for all Israel. It just says period. So there's like a huge paragraph missing in the Masoretic text here, because it says, and Samuel was accredited to all Yashrael as a prophet to Yahuwah from one end of the land to the other. And Heli was very old, and his sons kept advancing in wickedness, and their way was evil before Yahuwah. See, Mom, if that's mentioned in the first verse of the next chapter. I want to see maybe the Septuagint has it as part of the last verse.
No, it just says, and the word of Samuel came to all Yashrael.
Okay, so we have another issue here where the Masoretic text takes out a whole paragraph, and it seems like not just the Masoretic text, all the other versions take out that paragraph. So I'm just going to put a little note here. LXX has a whole another paragraph there. So, and I believe that's what verse 21 it ends with. Yeah. So now we're at chapter 4. Mom, would you like to read?
Sure. And the word of Samuel came to all Yashrael. Now Yashrael went out to battle against the Philistines. They encamped at Ebenezer, and the Philistines encamped at Aphek. The Philistines drew up in line against Yashrael, and when the battle spread, Yashrael was defeated before the Philistines, who killed about 4,000 men on the field of battle. And when the people came to the camp, the elders of Yashrael said, "Why has Yahuwah defeated us today before the Philistines? Let us bring the Ark of the Covenant of Yahuwah here from Shiloh, that it may come among us and save us from the power of our enemies." So the people sent to Shiloh and brought from there the Ark of the Covenant of Yahuwah of hosts, who is enthroned on the cherubim. And the two sons of Eli, Hophni and Phinehas, were there with the Ark of the Covenant of Yahuwah. As soon as the Ark of the Covenant of Yahuwah came into the camp, all Yashrael gave a mighty shout, so that the earth resounded. And when the Philistines heard the noise of the shouting, they said, "What does this great shouting in the camp of the Hebrews mean?" And when they learned that the Ark of Yahuwah had come to the camp, the Philistines were afraid, for they said, "A mighty one has come into the camp." And they said, "Woe to us, for nothing like this has happened before. Woe to us, who can deliver us from the power of these mighty ones?" These are the mighty ones who struck the Egyptians with every kind of plague in the wilderness. Take courage and be men, O Philistines, lest you become slaves to the Hebrews, as they have been to you. Be men and fight. So the Philistines fought, and Yashrael was defeated, and they fled, every man to his home, and there was a very great slaughter, for 30,000 foot soldiers of Yashrael fell. And the ark of Yahuwah was captured, and the two sons of Eli, Hophni and Phinehas, died. A man of Benjamin ran from the battle line and came to Shiloh the same day, with his clothes torn and with dirt on his head. When he arrived, Eli was sitting on his seat by the road, watching, for his heart trembled for the ark of Yahuwah. And when the man came into the city and told the news, all the city cried out. When Eli heard the sound of the outcry, he said, "What is this uproar?" Then the man hurried and came and told Eli. Now Eli was 98 years old, and his eyes were set so that he could not see. And the man said to Eli, "I am he who has come from the battle. I fled from the battle today." And he said, "How did it go, my son?" He who brought the news answered and said, "Yashrael has fled before the Philistines, and there has also been a great defeat among the people. Your two sons also, Hophni and Phinehas, are dead, and the ark of Yahuwah has been captured." As soon as he mentioned the ark of Yahuwah, Eli fell over backwards from his seat by the side of the gate, and his neck was broken, and he died. For the man was old and heavy. He had judged Yashrael 40 years. Now his daughter-in-law, the wife of Phinehas, was pregnant, about to give birth. And when she heard the news that the ark of Yahuwah was captured, and that her father-in-law and her husband were dead, she bowed and gave birth, for her pains came upon her. And about the time of her death, the woman attending her said to her, "Do not be afraid, for you have borne a son." But she did not answer or pay attention. And she named the child Ichabod, saying, "The esteem has departed from Yashrael, because the ark of Yahuwah had been captured, and because of her father-in-law and her husband." And she said, "The esteem has departed from Yashrael, for the ark of Yahuwah has been captured."
All right. So let's see here. Let's see. Okay. Trying to look for any differences here. A lot of this seems similar. Like, there's not much that's really different from what I'm seeing. Let me see here. I'm looking to try to find something different. That's right before the Ark of the Covenant. Okay, a little different, not much. The Septuagint kind of paraphrases here. Instead of the Ark of the Covenant of Yahuwah, just says, "Take the Ark of our Alua out of Shiloh." So it's the same thing. It's just kind of paraphrasing it, which the Septuagint sometimes does. They'll take the meaning rather than a word for word. They'll take a thought for thought. Okay. Now this is interesting. make a little note about this. I find this interesting because this actually proves the oneness here. The Vulgate, instead of it saying the covenant, the Ark of the Covenant of Yahuwah, well, the Masoretic does this too. It says the Ark of the Covenant of Yahuwah of armies. So I want to write this down. This seems to indicate. See here. Heck, how am I losing already? This is insanity. I'm already losing my dang pen. All right. Hold on a second. Yeah. Okay. What's weird is this thing should be charging. I don't know why. That is very weird to me.
I mentioned something while
go
you're.
ahead.
I'm just sitting here thinking, and actually, I feel like Father's revealing some things to me as I'm thinking about this. Okay, one might say, okay, so they got the Ark of the Covenant back. Wouldn't that have warranted them a victory? Okay, and we are shown that it's not only as although he very much wants the Ark of the Covenant to remain with Israel, that alone is not enough. And the fact that there was still sin in the camp was a big problem. I don't think Yahuwah was truly satisfied until all of that was dealt with. And so we see, because like one who's reading this might say, oh, well, they got the Ark of the Covenant from Shiloh. Why didn't they have a victory, right? And it just shows us that there's a lot more to that for Father than just the physical Ark of the Covenant. That's kind of what I'm thinking. Because as a matter of fact, the second one, they lost even more men than they had the first time. Mm-hmm. So it was a huge devastation to their army. And so I'm just thinking it's got to be much more than just, the Ark of the Covenant is a representation of something very, very precious to him. And he wants that to be with Israel. Yeah. But it's kind of like, the sacrifices alone that Israel did could not. And there came a point when Father was like, I don't want to see any more of your sacrifices. I don't want to know about your Shabbats, about your feast days, your new moon festivals, because they're all detestable to me. So we know that, he's about the heart primarily, and not that these things are not important. They are important. But the point being that there was still sin in the camp. And I just think, I'm just looking at it like this. He had to deal with that issue first. So that's kind of what I'm getting from that. I honestly have to say, I've never thought about it before like that. I'm sure I read this many times, at least 2 other times in the last couple of years, and nothing like this kind of sort of dawned upon me to even think about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's important to him that all of it got out of the camp. You see that all throughout, the writings of Moses. You see all of that there cannot be sin in Israel. You must remove it. You must purge it. Is a word that's used many, many times. And the sin had not yet been purged. It was still in the camp.
So what I found interesting too was the see here in verse 8, the Septuagint has a reading a little different. It says, "Woe to us, O Yahuwah, deliver us today, for such a thing has not happened before time." So the Masoretic just says, "Woe to us." It leaves Yahuwah out. It doesn't even mention him. It just says there was not such great exaltation yesterday, which doesn't really. I mean, well, actually, the Vulgate says that. The Masoretic says, "Woe to us, who shall deliver us from the hand of these mighty, mighty ones," which is a little weird. It's kind of like the Septuagint gives more the idea that they understood that Yahuwah would deliver them. The Masoretic is more or less they're already doubting, so it's a little bit different.
Don't you find it interesting that even the Philistines knew about the history of Egypt? They knew about see, this is interesting. Now, Philistines are not, in any way, shape, or form part of Israel. They're completely but they knew.
But they came from Egypt, though.
Yeah. Okay.
If you know the genealogy of the Philistines,
all right,
their father was Egypt. So,
I see.
So
okay, that makes sense then.
Ham brought forth the Philistines. So
I gotcha.
So all the sons of Ham would have told them, "Hey, listen, they would have told them like they're their cousins or something. Listen, these guys are going to be coming up against you. You might want to."
Yeah. Okay. I see.
Yeah, you go to Genesis 10. It lays out the whole genealogy of it. Yeah. Thanks, Mom.
No problem.
So that's the major difference that in verse 8 is that you have the Septuagint says, "Oh, woe to us, O Yahuwah, deliver us to such a day," rather than the Masoretic saying, "Who will deliver us?" So it's like faith versus doubt, really, is the difference. Let's see here. From the hand of these mighty ones. These are the mighty ones who struck the Mitzrites with all the plagues in the wilderness. I wonder if that's the Philistines talking. The Philistines probably thought there was multiple mighty ones that did that. That's probably the Philistines, because see, a lot of these nations still are under the idea that you have more than one God. Like they still don't understand that. Strengthen yourselves and behave yourselves like men, O you Philistines, that you may not serve the Hebrews as they have served us. But you men fight with them. Now, this is after Samson, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's how they know who Yahuwah is too. Think about it. They got this guy Samson,
right, that's
a Hebrew, who just destroyed them. Destroyed their ancestors. Obviously, that oral tradition would have carried on. Sure. Like, you don't mess with these guys. These guys serve this most high, mighty one of mighty ones. Yeah, we might not want to mess with those people.
Yep, that's true. Yeah, it was probably only a couple of generations before, because this book is directly after the book of Judges. So you figure, between Samuel, it wasn't all that long ago.
They fought with them, and the men of Yashrael fell. They fled every man. 30,000 fighting. Okay, I'm just kind of... While we have a little extra time here, I just want to make sure we got everything here. Okay. Phineas. Okay. the voice of this cry, and the man hasted and reported to Heli, 90 years old. Now, this is interesting. This is a difference I didn't expect to come across. So the Masoretic says that Eli was
98.
98. The Septuagint says he was 90.
Oh,
So this is an interesting difference here. I wonder why they would want him to be almost 100. Maybe they figure 90 was too young to die. I don't know. It to me is a little weird.
Mhm.
So you looking at your maps?
At a map, yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Moving on here. Okay. The man said to Eli, voice and sound. Okay. I'm kind of scrolling down here. Ark of Elohim. Okay. There's another thing here. It says that this guy, the next guy here, says he judged Israel 20 instead of 40. Now, this would be who? This. I'm trying to think. Who is it mentioning as the one judging them? Oh, so Eli would have, according to the Septuagint, he only judged for 20 years. So as we're seeing here, guys, there's like multiple just little changes here and there the Masorites do. They for some reason they like to change stuff about the history for some reason. All right, so I'm just trying to see here the last couple of verses in this chapter. It says here, and because of her father-in-law, because of her husband, he said, the splendor of Yasharel is departed for as much as the ark of Yahuwah is taken. Now, in this verse, you have the switch of terminology where the Septuagint says the ark of Yahuwah, where the Masoretic and others will say ark of Elohim. So that's kind of interesting.
Mhm.
So I'm more in favor of it saying the ark of Yahuwah than Elohim because Elohim's a generic title, not a name. You have angels being called Elohim in scripture. So not exactly favorable with using that as a name. You can't really use that as Yahuwah's name when you got angels being called Elohim in a generic sense. When you got humans to explain to people, if you look up the Hebrew word Elohim or Elohim, it can mean just it can mean a deity, it can mean judges, rulers, it can mean messengers. It's generic. So that's why I'm not a fan of using Elohim or Elohim as a name. So anyway. Okay, so we got chapter 5 here. We'll let I think we're gonna let Brother Dennis finish us off here. Brother Dennis, are you able to read chapter 5 for us?
Oh, let's see.
Yeah, dig.
Lost place. Where were we? Chapter 5. Where?
Yeah, chapter 5, 1 Samuel. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. 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 Let's see. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, perfect, brother.
Okay. All right. And the Philistines took the ark of Elohim of Yahuwah and brought it from Eden, Yetzir, to Ashdod. And the Philistines took the ark of Yahuwah and brought it into the house of Dagon and set it Dagon, by Dagon. And the Ashdodites rose early in the morning and saw Dagon fallen on its face to the ground before the ark of Yahuwah. So they took Dagon and put it in its place again. And they rose early the next morning and saw Dagon fallen on its face to the ground before the ark of Yahuwah, and the head of Dagon and both the palms of its hands cut off from the threshold. Only Dagon itself was left of it. That is why to this day the priests of Dagon and all who come into Dagon's house do not tread on the threshold of Dagon in Ashdod. But the hand of Yahuwah was heavy on Ashdodites, and he wasted them and smote them with tumors, Ashdod and its borders. And when the men of Ashdod saw this, they said, "Let not the ark of Yahuwah of Yisrael remain with us, for his hand has been hard on us and on Dagon, our mighty one." Then they sent and gathered to them all the princes of the Philistines and said, "What do we do with the ark of the Yahuwah of Yisrael?" And they answered, "Let the ark of Yahuwah of Yisrael be removed to Gath." And they removed the ark of Yahuwah of Yisrael. And it came to be, after they removed it, that the hand of Yahuwah was against the city with a very great destruction. And he smote the men of the city from the least to the greatest, and tumors broke out on them. Then they sent the ark of Yahuwah to Ekron. And it came to be, as the ark of Yahuwah came to Ekron, that the Ekronites cried out, saying, "They have removed the ark of Yahuwah of Yisrael to us, to kill us and our people." And they sent and gathered together all the princes of the Philistines and said, Send away the ark of Yahuwah of Yisrael, and let it return to its own place, so that it does not kill us and our people. For there had come a deadly destruction throughout all the city. The hand of Yahuwah was very heavy there. And men who did not die were smitten with tumors. And the cry of the city went up to Shemayim, the heavens. I didn't like that too much. Are you there?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I was just writing down some stuff here while you were reading. So
Yeah.
yeah, so Dagon, by the way, people that don't know, Dagon is basically to the Philistines, that's their version of Baal. also Dagon is where we get the word dragon from, supposedly etymologically.
Hmm.
So basically, what Dagon to them was a sea dragon. They worshipped a sea dragon as their god, and all of that. So that's where the whole idea of Leviathan becoming evil comes from, because they served Baal as a sea dragon. And then it gets, twisted into the occult. You also had the Sumerians who worshiped this female, Tiamat creature, which was their version of Leviathan that they worshipped as a god. So that's why in the Kabbalah, eventually they start turning Leviathan into Satan. Because if you read the book of Enoch, Leviathan is a female creature. She's a female. She's a female sea dragon. And not to say all Leviathans are female, but it's talking about specifically about Leviathan and Behemoth, and how Behemoth is a male land animal or monster, whatever you want to call it. He's a land, creature that was male, and Leviathan is female. Now, I don't, obviously, for Leviathan to procreate and for there to be more than one Leviathan, you obviously have to have male counterparts, I would assume. So unless she's asexual, it's the only way I could see that, where all you have is female Leviathans. But there seems to be more than one Leviathan. When you actually look at the word for whales, or whatever they call them in Genesis 1, it will say usually that Yahuwah created great fish or great whales in the sea. That's not what it's supposed to say. It's actually supposed to say sea monsters. So there is a concept of you had multiple Leviathans created at the creation. So anyway, but just wanted to say that. But that's where people get confused with the whole Leviathan's evil and this and that, and Leviathan's demon and all that. That goes all the way into the occult, into the pagan religions, and how they twist Leviathan into a god of the sea and all that. And the Babylonians worship Dagon as well. So this shows that this is the way the pagan world works. It's not like you have one god exclusive to one culture. When other cultures take over, they take their gods. It's just the way it goes. So that's why Zeus and Jupiter is the same god. That's why later on Babylon serves Dagon. Okay, Dagon was originally a Philistine god, not a Sumerian god. So obviously when the Sumerians took over, they took their gods. It's common sense there. It's called conquest. Once a culture conquests or destroys another culture, they take their culture, blend it in with their own culture, and they take their mighty ones. It's all throughout history. That's how it works. So anyway, so just if anyone wondered what Dagon is, he's basically one of the gods of the nations, and it's just another Baal, really. It's another Baal. That's all he is.
You see him in the book of Daniel.
You see this in the Vatican too. By the way, the fish hat, that's the Dagon hat. The stupid fish hat that the popes wear, the white hat that has a mouth on top, that's the Dagon hat. Okay. So again, this is proving who the Vatican serve. All you gotta do is look at their garments. Okay, they got a weird serpent pole as a staff. They got a Dagon fish hat and all that. So anyway, for the Ark of the Covenant.
I've heard others say that the Leviathan was a reptilian.
Yeah. The Leviathan, as we see in Scripture, right, is just a sea dragon. Now, what the Kabbalists do is they turn that into a actual fallen angel or a demon. And where people get confused and think that it's a demon is because, or a symbol for Satan, is because the Masoretic text twisted the book of Job and words it like he's the I think it says he's the king of all the proud. The Septuagint in that verse will say that he's the king of the sea. Which one makes more sense? Obviously, Leviathan is the king of the sea. That's his domain. But the idea that he's the king over all the sons of pride, Leviathan is not Satan. So what the Kabbalists do, they try to combine that with Satan. And I recommend people really look into the study we did a while back called Leviathan is not a demon, he's not Satan. Study that me and Brother Yahusha did, where we go into their Jewish lore and show that this is all in their traditions. It's not in the Bible. It's in their traditions. And the Masoretes, who are Kabbalistic in nature, were trying to change the text in the book of Job to make it look like Leviathan is Satan, or that Leviathan is a demon. And they even do this in other portions that deal with Satan and tried to insert the name Leviathan there. Like, for example, Isaiah's 27:1 in the Masoretic will say Leviathan, right? In the Septuagint, it doesn't. It just says dragon. And if you actually look at the context of Isaiah 27:1, it has nothing to do with Leviathan. It has to do with Satan. It's allegorically calling Satan the dragon in Isaiah 27. But because the Masoretes, they want to promote that Leviathan is Satan, they put the word Leviathan there. So now they think Yahuwah is going to kill Leviathan. So you also got to look at the context, because the Isaiah 27:1 context, I think everyone would agree, matches with 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, where it's talking about the sword, the word of Yahuwah, destroying Satan. That's the context of Isaiah 27:1. So why would Leviathan be there? Other than they believe Leviathan is Satan. So that's the problem, is the Kabbalists, they believe that. Some of the higher up in the Sanhedrin actually worship a Leviathan spirit and actually think that the Messiah is going to be this dragon king, this Leviathan king. So like kind of what Brother Dennis was talking about, how some people think Leviathan has to do with the reptilians and all that. I think the Sanhedrin probably worships the devil, and that's why they would want that. That's why they would confuse the two as the same thing. But anyway, I recommend people check out that study called Leviathan is Not Satan. It's on our YouTube page. Please check that out. It's a really good study. It shows how the Kabbalistic Masoretic scribes were trying to change stuff in Scripture. And just to reiterate, Leviathan is a righteous sea monster created by Yahuwah on, I forget which day of creation it would have been, where it talks about he created sea monsters. It should say sea monsters in Genesis 1, not whales. But that's a whole nother thing there. But basically you have like what Leviathan really is like, you ever heard Legends of the Loch Ness Monster?
Yeah.
That's what a Leviathan is. He's a sea dragon. That's all he is. He's not no demon. He's not a principality. There's no scripture to support that. There, so anyway.
Yeah, I thought the king of the sea was Charlie Tuna.
Yeah.
You say commercial.
Yeah, so let me I think he was talking about an old commercial.
Oh.
Yeah.
Let me see. I'm gonna just show people what I'm talking about here in Job, how they try to twist it here. So you compare side by side here with the ISR with the Septuagint here. We go to the book of Job. Let's see here. I think it's Job 41 or 40. Okay, so it says here, yeah, Yahuwah's great power in Leviathan. So now you go down to, I think, one of the last verses here. Here, verse 34, Job 41. Now tell me which one makes sense. The Septuagint says, he beholds every high thing. He is king of all that are in the waters. Verse 34 in the Masoretic, he sees all that is prideful. He is king over the sons of pride. Now, think about this for a second. This is a neutral creature created by Yahuwah. Why would he be the king of the sons of pride? So what the Masoretes try to do here, they try to make people think that Leviathan is a symbol for Satan. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to esoterically interpret the scriptures. That's what they're trying to do. And all they had to do was change this one phrase, he is king over all that's in the waters, to he's the king over all sons of pride. Huge difference. Huge difference. And, so the one of my issues with the Masoretic text there. So, and then you look at, let's see here. So we go back to the chapter Brother Dennis read, head of Dagon. And both the palms of his hands were cut off, each from the threshold. Both the wrists of his hands had fallen on the floor of the porch of the stump. Dagon was left. Therefore, the priests of Dagon and everyone that enters into the house of Dagon do not tread upon the threshold of the house of Dagon and Azotus until this day, for they were stepped over, and the hand of Yahuwah was heavy upon Azotus. So we see the hand of Yahuwah mentioned, I would say at least like a couple of times. Yahusha's mentioned a couple of times in this chapter here as the hand of Yahuwah. Okay, so go just skimming through here. So it says, and he brought the evil upon them and burst open them in ships, and mice sprang up in the midst of their country. There was a great and indiscriminate mortality in the city. The men of Azotus saw that it was so. They said, the ark of the Eluah of Yashral shall not abide with us, for his hand is heavy upon us and upon Dagon, our mighty one. So again, his hand is referring to, again, Yahusha here, his hand. So we have, let me just see here, I think that's twice in the same verse. It's talking about where oh no, okay. No, it's not. Okay, so we have verse 6, verse 3, and verse 7 all talking about the hand of Yahuwah here. On verse 8 here, what will we do to the ark of the Eluah Yashral? The Gittites say, let the ark of Eluah come over to us. The ark of the Eluah of Yashral came to Gath. That the hand of Yahuwah comes upon the city. Very great confusion. He smote the men of the city, small and great, smote them in their secret parts. And the Hittites made themselves images of emerods, whatever emerald is. But we have verse 9 again saying that Yahuwah's hand came upon the city and actually caused confusion to them. Okay, brought back the ark of the Eluah of Yashral to us to kill us and our people. They said, send to gather the masters of the Philistines. Send away the ark of the Eluah of Yashral and let it lodge in its place. Let it not slay us and our people, for there was a very great confusion in all the city when the ark of the Eluah Yashral entered there, and those who lived and died not were smitten with emerods, and the cry of the city went up to heaven. All right, so that's pretty much it for our reading for today. I don't think there was much difference, unless I was wrong about chapter 5. Pretty much saw the same stuff in both versions. I didn't see anything really to take note of. There might be a little difference in just terminology or pronunciation of certain places, or so those who lived in. Okay, so now I find this interesting. There's a little bit extra here. I actually got to take my comment back here. There's a little bit extra in verse 12 here that I just noticed. The Masoretic just says the men who did not die were stricken with tumors, and the cry went up to the heavens. But there's a little bit left here that I didn't notice before in verse 12 of chapter 5, where it says, "For there was a very great confusion in all the city when the ark of the Lua of Yashua entered there, those who lived." So there's like half of the verse is missing here, it seems like. Unless this part is part of verse 11 in the Masoretic, that's the only way I could say that they didn't omit it. So, for there was a very great confusion in all the city when the ark of the Lua of Yashua entered there. Yeah, I think that's what happened. No. Yeah. So I'd say the Masoretic text omits half of the verse. Okay. So hope you guys enjoyed the study today, all of you out there on YouTube and wherever you've been watching us on. So I just want to thank you guys, all of our brothers and sisters in Yahuwah Almighty and Yahushua Messiah. Please stay tuned for next week. Yahuwah willing, we will be going into 1 Samuel 6 to 8, I believe. So please stay tuned, everyone. And Yahuwah willing, we will be back next week. Shalom, everyone. Shabbat shalom. Have a great rest of the Sabbath. See you guys next time.